Imagine you're sitting across from her. There's no physical contact, no touching, no kissing, not even a flirtatious brush of the hand. And yet, she can't stop thinking about you. Her eyes linger, her breath shifts, and something deep inside her is stirred. You've entered her sexual mind, not through your body, but through something far more powerful. Your presence, your psychology, your understanding of who she is underneath the surface. Most men go straight for physical signals. They chase validation, flash wealth, flex their confidence, or try to dominate the conversation. But the man who truly captivates her, the man she secretly obsesses over, is the one who understands what Strauss calls the unseen game. The game that plays out behind the words, beneath the glances, and inside the emotional frame that governs her experience. You see, the female sexual mind isn't turned on by physical touch alone. It's ignited by what you make her feel about herself when she's with you. It's the version of her you reflect back without saying a single word. It's the mystery you carry, not because you're hiding something, but because you know how to show just enough of your depth to keep her leaning in. When you understand this, everything changes. She doesn't want a man who simply wants her body. She's seen that before. She's been touched by hands that never saw her soul. She's had kisses that were technically perfect, but emotionally empty. But when she senses a man who gets her, a man who speaks to the woman behind her looks, the one who sees through her defenses, and who doesn't rush to undress her body because he's already undressing her mind, something opens up in her. It's not just attraction, it's obsession. Strauss understood that seduction is not about convincing, it's about revealing. Not your resume, not your assets, not even your alpha status, but your mastery of presence. Your ability to create a feeling she can't explain, but wants to feel again and again. And here's the twist. The less you try to control her reaction, the more control you have over her attraction. Because women are experts at detecting intention. They can feel when you want something from them, but they're also exquisitely tuned to authenticity. And when a man walks into her world with nothing to prove but everything to express, she listens, her body listens, her emotions listen. Her guard begins to lower. She starts to feel safe, but also challenged, relaxed, yet aroused. That's the paradox you must create. Safety gives her permission. Mystery keeps her hooked, and emotional stimulation makes her crave your energy like oxygen. It's not about being the loudest man in the room. It's about being the one who can change the temperature of the room without saying a word. But here's what most men get wrong. They think being mysterious means being distant. It doesn't. Being mysterious means revealing your depth layer by layer. It means letting her discover pieces of you in a way that feels like an emotional striptease. Because when a woman discovers who you are, instead of you trying to impress her with it, she feels chosen. Not in a submissive way, but in the way that excites her soul. She starts to wonder, why do I feel so alive around him? Why can't I stop thinking about him? What is it about the way he looks at me that makes me feel desired without being touched? You've triggered her imagination. And once her imagination is involved, you've already bypassed logic. You're no longer just a man in her physical world. You're a fantasy in her mental and emotional landscape. You don't need to touch her because, in her mind, she's already playing out scenes with you. Fantasies she doesn't even share with her closest friends. Not because you forced them, but because you invited them. Gently, subtly, with nuance, with mastery. And now she's hooked. She starts looking at you differently, not because you've done something obvious, but because of what you've awakened in her. A curiosity, a tension, a question that lingers inside her like a whisper. Why does this man feel so different? And here's what most men never understand. You don't need to tell a woman you're different. You don't need to prove your value. In fact, the moment you start trying to prove something, you lose the very tension you're trying to build. The key is subtlety. It's what you withhold that becomes more seductive than what you reveal. Because in her world, everyone is loud. Everyone wants to be seen, but the man who holds space, who listens, who pauses, who isn't desperate to fill the silence, becomes the one she can't stop watching. You don't enter her sexual mind through compliments or cheesy lines. You enter it by making her feel seen in a way that surprises her. You notice the part of her that she hides from the world. You ask the question that no one else thought to ask. You remember a detail she mentioned in passing 2 weeks ago and bring it up casually. That's how you anchor yourself into her emotions, because every woman has a version of herself she wishes someone could see. And when you reflect that version back to her, confidently, effortlessly, without needing anything in return, she begins to feel naked without you even touching her. Vulnerable, exposed, open. This is where the true seduction begins. Not when her clothes come off, but when her guard comes down. And she doesn't even realize it. She thinks you're just interesting. Or maybe mysterious. Or maybe she just enjoys talking to you. But something inside her is changing. Her thoughts circle back to you when she's alone. She replays your words in the shower, in bed, while scrolling her phone. She starts wondering what it would feel like to be kissed by you, not because you pushed for it, but because she wants it. She imagines it. She creates the experience in her mind before it ever becomes real. That's the secret. She seduces herself on your behalf. Neil Strauss taught that the most powerful seduction is internal. It's the seduction that happens in her imagination, in the spaces between your words, in the feelings you provoke without ever crossing a line. The less physical you become, the more powerful your presence needs to be. The more invisible your technique, the more unforgettable the experience. You don't touch her body, you touch her identity, you make her feel like the woman she wants to be. Not the one shaped by society or ex-boyfriends or her insecurities, but the version of her that feels powerful, alive, feminine, wanted. Not for her body alone, but for the storm of passion, thought and emotion that lives inside her. And then something else happens. She begins to chase you, not because you played games, not because you ignored her, but because you created a world that felt so damn intoxicating, she needs more of it. She wants to feel that way again, and again, and again. She doesn't realize it, but her need for you is now emotional, psychological, chemical. This is the moment where most men fail. They think they've won, so they lean in too soon. They break the mystery. They make it physical too fast. And the illusion fades. But not you. You understand the principle of delayed gratification. You know that tension, when carefully managed, is more seductive than release. You know how to build pressure, not by withholding affection, but by deepening connection. You become the man who slows things down, who lets the moment breathe. And in doing so, you give her permission to want you more. Now you're not just someone she talks to. You're someone she feels. Your words stay in her bloodstream. Your presence lingers like a fragrance. Your absence becomes louder than any man's presence she's ever known, and she starts asking herself questions she's never asked before. Why does this feel so different? Why does he get under my skin without even trying? Why does it feel like he's inside my head? Because you are. You've unlocked the part of her that's rarely touched by anyone. Her inner world, her fantasies, her deepest desires. And you did it without pressure, without tricks, without touching her. You simply understood her better than she expected to be understood. That's seduction at the highest level. You didn't need to conquer her. You just needed to let her feel safe enough to surrender, not to you, but to the part of herself that craves being fully awakened. She doesn't even tell her friends about you, not yet. Not because you're not worth mentioning, but because something about this connection feels too personal to share, too intimate to reduce into words. She wants to keep it to herself for a while longer, to figure it out, to enjoy it in silence. That's when you know she's thinking of you more than she's willing to admit. That's when you know her emotional gates are opening. And you haven't even laid a finger on her. What you've done is far more powerful. You've reshaped her emotional landscape. You've changed what she pays attention to. Now she notices little signs that remind her of you. Songs, quotes, glances from strangers that don't mean anything, because they're not you. You've become the contrast. You're now the standard she's starting to compare others to. And the others don't measure up. That's how deep psychological seduction works. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't scream. It whispers in her mind when she least expects it. When she's walking alone. When she's dressing up. When she's lying in bed, trying to fall asleep, but wondering what it would feel like to be next to you. Because your energy lingers. The way you looked at her. The way you paused after she spoke. As if digesting her words instead of rushing to respond. The way you didn't stare at her body, but made her body feel seen. The way you didn't need to impress her, because you were already impressed by who she really is. Most men don't make women feel like this, not because they're bad men, but because they're too distracted by their own need to be chosen. They forget that the real seduction starts when you no longer seek approval, when you are the chooser. Not in arrogance, but in presence. Not in dominance, but in discernment. You see her for what she is, but more importantly, you see her for what she could be if she let herself go with you. And that excites her more than anything. Because in a world where she's always expected to behave, to smile, to hold it together, you're the one man who makes her want to unravel, who gives her permission to explore her hidden desires, not by asking, but by creating a space where nothing needs to be said, a space where her femininity doesn't need to perform, it simply flows. She starts craving your voice, your eyes, your energy, and even when she's away from you, she's thinking of ways to come back, to get closer, to break the distance you've carefully maintained. And the genius is, you're not chasing, you're not pushing, you're just being, confident, grounded, completely in your frame. That's the ultimate aphrodisiac, because a man who doesn't chase gives her the opportunity to feel her own pursuit. And once she's emotionally invested, once her imagination is spinning stories around you, touch becomes inevitable. But not because you reach for it, because she offers it. And when she does, it's not about sex anymore. It's about surrender. It's about finally collapsing the tension you've both been holding in the space between you. She touches you not out of obligation or timing, but out of desire. Raw, unfiltered desire. The kind she rarely lets herself feel. The kind that rewires her memory so that even years later, your name carries weight in her mind. But here's the deeper truth. None of this works if you're faking it. Women can smell inauthenticity the way sharks smell blood. If you're trying to manipulate, if you're only pretending to listen, if your attention is just a strategy to get laid, it won't last. She may fall for the surface, but she'll pull away before the roots ever grow deep. This kind of seduction, the kind Neil Strauss mastered and decoded, is not about acting. It's about evolving. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to perform because he is the performance. You're not trying to impress because you've already impressed yourself. You're not needing her validation because you've already validated your worth. That self-respect, that stillness, that self-containment, it's magnetic. It's rare. And in a world of noise, it's unforgettable. Because when you walk into her life like a man who's not trying to be chosen, but simply choosing to be present, you become a new kind of stimulus. One she didn't expect, one she didn't prepare for, and one she can't resist. There's a subtle power in patience that most men overlook. It's the ability to stay calm in the face of uncertainty, to hold your energy steady while she dances around you emotionally. Because unlocking her sexual mind isn't about rushing to the finish line, it's about savoring the process, the dance, the teasing tension that builds invisibly with every glance, every word left unsaid. When you master this patience, you create an electric field around you, a charge that she can feel without knowing why. It's that almost imperceptible pull that makes her lean in closer, even when she's trying to pull away. It's the tension in the room that makes time slow down, hearts beat faster, and minds wander into possibilities that feel like secrets between just the two of you. This tension is the gateway to intimacy without touch. Because touch, physical touch, is only the final punctuation mark in a sentence you've been writing together in silence. The real story is told in the pauses, in the looks, in the shared moments where neither of you say a word, but everything is understood. You see, women's sexual minds operate on emotion before sensation. Her body reacts to her feelings first, and her feelings are shaped by what you make her experience mentally and emotionally. When you evoke curiosity, wonder, and a sense of safety mixed with mystery, you ignite that internal fire that makes her want to connect deeply even before her skin feels yours. Neil Strauss talks about the emotional roller coaster, the rise and fall of connection, excitement, and anticipation that makes a woman feel alive in your presence. It's not about drama or games, it's about genuine emotional depth and variation. It's about making her feel like the world suddenly has color again. Like every conversation with you is a discovery. Like she's stepping into a story she doesn't want to leave. And here's the secret many men miss. The sexual mind craves contrast. It needs the balance of light and shadow, tension and release, excitement and calm. You become that contrast by knowing when to step forward and when to pull back, by being playful one moment and serious the next, by revealing a glimpse of your soul and then retreating into your mystery. That push and pull creates dopamine spikes in her brain. It makes her crave your presence the way she craves her favorite song or her most thrilling movie. It's a chemistry you engineer with your awareness, your energy, your subtle emotional signals, not with physical force. And as she starts to chase you, you don't rush, you don't close the gap too fast. You let her come to you because that's when her desire becomes real and lasting. When it's her choice, not your demand. This is what separates the players from the true masters of seduction. The players rely on tricks and manipulation. The masters create emotional landscapes where she wants to be, where her sexual mind feels safe to explore, to imagine, to open. She might not even understand why she's drawn to you at first. She might think it's your confidence, your humor, or your looks. But deep down, it's the way you made her feel seen, desired, and understood without touching her. It's the invisible thread you wove between your energies that pulls her closer with every breath. And once you've entered her mind this way, the physical becomes inevitable. But it's no longer the goal. It's the natural consequence of a connection so deep that the line between mental and physical attraction blurs. You're no longer just a man she's attracted to. You're the man who awakened a part of her she didn't know was there. So, how do you start this? First, you cultivate presence. That means you show up fully, not distracted, not needy, but grounded and aware. You listen more than you talk. You ask questions that dig beneath the surface. You make her feel like she's the only person in the room, not by focusing on her looks, but by focusing on her essence. Second, you learn to control your own emotions. You don't react impulsively. You hold your frame even when the conversation gets intense or when she tests your boundaries. This steadiness gives her the safety to lower her guard and let you in. Third, you master the art of storytelling. Not just stories about your life, but stories that connect with her feelings, her dreams, and her desires. Stories that paint pictures in her mind, spark her imagination, and invite her to join you on an emotional journey. When you combine these elements, presence, emotional control, and storytelling, you become irresistible without ever needing to touch her. You unlock her sexual mind by becoming the man who can hold her attention, stir her emotions, and create a world she wants to dive into again and again. And remember, this isn't about playing a role or using a formula. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. Confident, authentic, emotionally intelligent. Because the woman who's ready to open her sexual mind to you will recognize that authenticity instantly. The way you carry yourself without touching her says more than any physical gesture ever could. It's in your eye contact, the subtle inflections of your voice, the way your presence fills the space between you. This invisible connection becomes a playground for her imagination, a canvas on which she paints fantasies that feel real, because you've made her feel real. Think about the last time you were truly captivated by someone's presence without a word being spoken. Maybe it was a glance across a crowded room or a brief conversation that left you wanting more. That feeling is a taste of what you can create for her, a silent invitation into her world. But to do this, You have to resist the urge to rush, to touch, to break the spell with premature physicality. Every moment you hold back builds anticipation. It teaches her patience, desire, and the intoxicating thrill of not knowing exactly what's coming next. This is the slow burn, the art of seduction that Strauss emphasizes, building a connection so intense mentally and emotionally that the physical becomes the natural crescendo, not the starting point. You're not just another man to her. You're the one who saw through the surface, the one who created a space where she could drop her armor and just be. In that space, vulnerability becomes possible. Desire is no longer about lust, but about longing, deep, soulful, magnetic longing. It's important to realize that unlocking her sexual mind isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about empathy, understanding her fears, her hopes, her boundaries. It's about guiding her gently into a place where she feels safe enough to let go of control and surrender, not because you forced it, but because she wants to. This is what makes your connection different from any fling or casual encounter. It's the difference between a moment that passes and a memory that lingers, that changes her. The difference between being forgotten and being unforgettable. So how do you keep her mind locked on you without touching? You make her feel special in ways no one else has. You mirror the parts of her she hides. You acknowledge her complexities, her contradictions, her strengths, and her insecurities, all without judgment. You create emotional contrast, moments of intensity followed by calm, mystery followed by clarity, challenge followed by comfort. This roller coaster of emotions keeps her engaged, keeps her wanting, keeps her coming back for more. And when the moment finally comes, when the physical connection unfolds, it's charged with the electricity of all those mental and emotional moments you've built together. It's not rushed or forced. It's the natural expression of a bond that's been carefully cultivated through presence, patience, and understanding. This is how you unlock her sexual mind without ever needing to touch her first. This is how you become unforgettable. This is how you make her chase you. And remember, this takes practice. It takes patience. It takes becoming comfortable with silence, with tension, with the unknown. But when you master it, you hold a power that transcends the physical. You hold the key to the most intimate and potent form of seduction, the kind that starts in the mind and ripples through every part of her being. Once you truly understand this, the way you relate to women changes forever. You stop trying to rush physical intimacy or force attraction. Instead, you become a man who creates space. Space for her to feel safe, to explore, to open up in her own time. You become the kind of man who can hold a room's energy without touching a single person, simply by being present, confident, and emotionally intelligent. This skill, this art, is rare. It's the difference between a fleeting encounter and a connection that burns into memory. When you unlock her sexual mind without touching her, you're not just seducing her body. You're awakening her desire on a level that no physical contact could reach on its own. You're planting seeds of fascination and longing that grow stronger every time you're near. And this doesn't just work with one woman. It works everywhere, in every interaction, every conversation, every glance. Because what you're mastering is how to be magnetic without desperation, how to be desired without neediness, and how to create deep connection without saying a single word. If you want to learn how to step into this power, to understand the psychology behind attraction and desire, and to become a man who women think about long after you're gone, then you're in the right place. Now, I want to hear from you. What part of this message hit you the most? What's one thing you're going to start practicing right now to unlock her sexual mind without touching? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Share your experiences or ask your questions, because this community grows stronger when we learn from each other. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like it and share it with a friend who needs to hear this. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss the kind of insights that change the game. Remember, seduction isn't about tricks or quick wins. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally commands attention and desire because he knows how to connect on the deepest level. And that journey starts with presence, your presence. So, are you ready to unlock her sexual mind and become unforgettable? Let's do this together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.